Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining She Rises. And remember, we all can rise together.
Yes, ma'am. So this is Jamie Bona,
Yes, I'm Pastor Melody Williams.
and we are going to have a conversation today.
Yes. So it was so funny. Jamie and I were talking about some of the trips that I have planned for the year. And, we started talking about self-love, self, but, self-love. And then we're both in school finishing our degrees. So, the accomplishment. And as soon as Jamie said that, it just kind of hit me, the thrill of victory when you accomplish something. So we're going to try and talk about that today for you. So hopefully, just get your pen out, because there are so many people that have said to me that when they listen to our show, she says, I have 3 pages of notes from you guys. I said, wow.
I love that.
I said that was pretty cool, because she's launching her podcast, and she said, you guys do so much like on relationships, and it's so good. And then you bring both sides, you bring the spiritual and you bring the physical or the psychology portion of it. She says, and it's also true. So we always endeavor to be authentic to you, so that way we can give you true spiritual truths, science truths, spiritual truths, that you can always pull it together and get something out of what we said. So, just even with me, that I had just finished my first segment of my degree. And, since Jamie was talking about, she said, isn't it hard? And I breathed and I said, yes, because for like 8 weeks, 2.5 months, it felt like I got nothing else accomplished. I was just like on lock. So the first time I actually was able to cook dinner for my family again, everybody was like, whoa. I said, I know that. Now you think about it, you come home, you kind of think you can kick back. There was no kickback. I had to literally squeeze in the gym. And it was all of those things. But then once I was done, it was such a shout of victory that I said, wow, I accomplished that. And I got a great grade, even though I've got to go back, I'm not finished. But the important thing is, and that's what I share with anyone, you have to celebrate your small victories. You do.
1,000%.
You do. Because if you don't celebrate your small victories, it's like, it feels like it's the never ending, event journey that you're on. And it's like, Groundhog Day, and everybody can relate to Groundhog Day. You wake up and like, oh, so if I didn't celebrate it and just unwind and just, acknowledge what I have been able to accomplish, hey, I'm not there yet, but I am on my way. And something else that I just shared with another young lady, I said, every day I wake up, I'm one step closer.
That's true.
I'm one step closer to my goal. I'm one step closer to my victory. So every day I get up and I press, and yours could be something as simple as the gym. That, every day I wake up, I said, okay, I'm going to the gym today. There have been times I pull into the driveway and I'm like, tired, mentally, emotionally, physically, I'm tired. And I was like, okay, I'm tired. I'm launching my business as I'm going to school. So ministry, life, marriage, the cycle. And I sat in that car and I was like, the last thing I want to do is go to the gym. And then, but I said, so when I got out the car, I said, but the first thing I'm going to do is go to the gym. So, you've got choices. That do I talk myself out of it, or do I talk myself in it? So I'm choosing to talk myself into it, because I understand that this is another day that I'm one step closer. So if I've got my goal and I want to look good in that bikini, that's not my story, but that may be your story.
Yes, it is.
that you say to yourself, you know what? If I do it today, I'm one step closer.
No, you're right.
If I sign up for that class I didn't want to take because everybody said it was so bad, and the teacher was, and I've had that, the teacher was such a mess, the teacher's this, that, and the other, they're really, a blank hole, all of that. But you know what? I have done those classes when people said, don't sign up for that class because they're really this, that, and the other. And then I asked for favor. I said, Father, was I sign up for this class? Give me favor with this instructor. Can I tell you, every time I have done that. So I'm giving you guys a tip. Just pray and ask for favor. God, I have favor with this teacher. And then
also don't give up on the hard teachers, because I picked the hardest. And Dr. Johnson, if you ever listen to this, I love you to pieces, but you literally are the hardest chair ever. And I think I even told her this, like, other people, when they found out that I asked her, like, she was my first choice, they were like, are you crazy? Because they know that, like, she gets at every little thing. However, when you're done, you have the best paper in the room.
Come on.
You know what
and
I mean?
not only that though, but that is a part of growing and maturing.
It is. And I
And
can remember when I first had her first like real criticism. I can remember like we hung up and I just started crying. I was like, no, like what's happening? And today she can give me criticism and I'm like, oh yeah, sure. And I write it down. I thank her for it.
right, right. Because you grew from the process. And
Yeah.
that's what we're afraid about, because in this culture, we want microwave, we want fast, we want instant, and but nothing is really gratifying when you do it that way. I don't
Mhm.
care what you think about. But if I work for it and I really put my, because she demands you to put your all in.
Yes, she does.
And it's the same thing when I went for my ordination. It wasn't like I could just breeze through it. It wasn't effortless. I had to work for it. But what I worked for, it was a greater reward when I obtained it. So
Yeah.
I would rather have to be pushed, because if I'm pushed to do it, then I know that there's a bigger prize than me just saying, it was a piece of cake. Oh, I got somebody to help me with it. Oh, I did it on AI, all of the little snippets and cuts that we can do. I'd rather, and that was one of the main things, because this class was like, papers, 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 papers. This paper's on this
Mm-hmm.
deadline, this one, and it was all of that. And hey, I don't want to tell you how long it's been since I've been out of school, but luckily I do all of my sermons on, you know, point form. So I was kind of familiar with it, just staying in practice. But it wasn't my go-to. It wasn't what I wanted to do. But I just said, okay, and it was something that it was like funny that I just preached this weekend, how God has been preparing me my entire life for this one moment.
Yes,
This moment.
yeah.
And so
Tell it.
same thing, you think about your story, you think about my story, that God has been preparing us through life to do this broadcast. He
And we didn't
has.
even know each other 5 years ago.
We
Do you know?
totally did. We
Like,
totally
so
did.
at 40 years old, you might think like, oh, but at 40 years old, I didn't even meet you yet. So
Nope.
like we constantly are developing and growing as long as we're willing to develop and grow. And I think for some people, if you're listening, because you know how we say we do the both halves, you do the one half, I do the other. So if you're listening to this and you pull up to the gym and you have a day where you turn around, that's okay too. As long as you just make sure you get back in there the next day. So if you do have a bad
Absolutely.
day, don't get too down on yourself. Just
Nope.
it could be that maybe you are that exhausted that you needed that minute for yourself. So if
Mhm.
you didn't get to the gym that day, don't be hard on yourself, but get
Don't
up
beat yourself up. There's
and what
always another
I
day.
tell people is tell somebody else about it. That way they can not hold you accountable, but they could be like, oh, did you go to the gym today? Or like, I was going to go to the gym today. What time are you going? But that way, if you by telling somebody, you let them know what your intentions are, and then they can kind of hold you accountable. Like you said, my
Well,
mom, because I said my
sure.
mom was in. Where's our
Yes.
next episode?
Yes. And I think that we all need that kind of, whether it's a spiritual or a physical accountability partner, whether it's, a goal partner, that as far as like, and the same thing, like I have those, I said, all right, this is what I want to do. And they're like, okay, you can do it. Now, keep in mind, even as we say that my goal partner has to be willing to be um, stern with me, because I feel as though, if you love me, you have the open area to correct me, to challenge me. That if I'm saying something or doing something wrong or detrimental, or I'm downing myself and I'm saying, "Oh, you're so stupid," hold it. That you have permission to invade my space and tell me, why are you saying that? Like, that's how we developed. Why are you doing
That's
that?
exactly. I was going to say that was our first conversation. I was just like,
Yeah.
don't interrupt her. Don't interrupt her.
I said, because the reality is, though, if I can grow from our relationship, then our relationship benefits me. But if you've got to walk around on eggshells and I'm like, oh, I don't want to hurt our feelings and all that, I said, wait, then we have not reached that level of accountability. We're still surface. But if we have history, and you know that I'm coming to you out of love and respect, then there's really kind of anything you can tell me that I'm going to receive,
And
because
I
I
think
know.
that too, because I'm doing my dissertation right now. We were just talking about how I'm almost on chapter 4. Chapter 4 is the findings chapter. So the stuff that I found was so interesting. I part of my findings is these crossroad moments that we have, and it's discourse, right? So it's discourse and dissonance. So for a lot of people, just in case my mom or somebody's listening and they're like, what did you just say? Discourse is like not arguing, but it's like a crossroads where you meet, maybe you grew up thinking one way, then you go to school and you learn something different that maybe changes the way you felt here. So maybe you still feel this way, but you feel this way, you're kind of in the middle. That's
Yes.
dissonance. Like feeling that. It could also be you love your dad, but he is supposed to pick you up every Saturday and hasn't been there for 3 months. So you
Come
can't
on.
stay and you love him at the same time. That's
Yes.
dissonance. So
Yes.
just know that, sometimes we sound like we're all put together and, you're a pastor and you have your this and that. Like I experience dissonance all the time. So I think people need to know that we're human as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And every day I don't wake up feeling like the pastor. Okay.
No.
I said,
Do you
but I
ever
give
find
myself
pressure?
grace.
Do you ever find it being pressure that, because like sometimes I find it, um, I put pressure on myself. It's not anybody else, but because of the psychology part of me, I feel like people expect me to answer the phone sometimes, and sometimes I don't.
Absolutely.
But I do.
Absolutely. You always do, because I think that that is a part of it, because people don't really see you when you're in a position. They see your position. They don't see your
Yeah.
humanity.
Do you feel that ever? Like you're just the pastor?
Always. Always. Because the reality, I realize that I am a tool for them. I am a sounding board for them. I am a problem solver for them. I am a spiritual guide for them. So all of those hats, all of those labels, all of those positions I hold for them, but they never see me as just Melody.
That sucks.
And well, it comes with the job. And see,
I
but you have to be the boundary bearer. You
No,
have
you're
to
right.
draw the line.
I'm empathetic, so I would be empathetic in my job and in real life. So you're right.
And I am, because I have to learn how to pick and choose. And there's some people in some situations that I have to let you work out, because if I'm constantly the saving grace, you don't grow. But
No,
if I
that's what
allow you,
dissonance is. That's what dissonance is. So instead of just coming to somebody and saying, "This is what happened, what do I do?" Even if I tell you what to do, you could listen to me, you could listen to Miss Melody, you could listen to everybody. But at the end of the day, you have to make your own decision because you're the
yes,
one that live with it. You know what I mean?
yes,
So
yes,
I definitely challenge people to make sure that you are listening to what other people say, but definitely at the end of the day, self-author or write your own story.
yes, because it is your decision. Because as I allow you to grow, you now have a point of reference for the next battle that you face, because you're going to refer back to, wait, I just before, and especially like some of my young ones, they come like every little thing, it's almost like you think I'm your girlfriend. I'm like, I'm not really your girlfriend. I'm kind of like your pastor. You're like, hey, but so, every little thing you want to
Boundaries.
text me, every little thing you want to call me. And I love the fact that, our relationship is growing, but I don't have that kind of time. When I was in my 20s, before, you were always on the phone. Oh, let me text that. Oh, I'm going to the mall. I'm going to the store. Go. But, at this season of life, you have to value and reposition your time differently, that you can't answer the phone at every little whim. That
You're
some
right.
things is like,
And
okay, you're
somebody that really
gonna
cares will understand that.
absolutely,
My best
because
friend Dayton has been waiting for me to come back for 4 years now. We're going to go to the casino on the in the end of April to go to a concert together. She can't wait, but I like feel bad because I feel like I I remember I told you when you started school it's like having another husband.
yep, yep,
It literally is, or like having another child
absolutely. It requires all of your time.
all
It's
the
like,
time.
when you get the new pet, he's got to be house trained, fed, walked. It's like, okay, when is he potty trained already?
Right. So one
But
of the things I
he
wanted to
said,
bring up was
goodness,
okay, so one of the things I wanted to bring up was one of the findings that I found in my study was that participants from marginalized groups experience societal expectations that conflicted with their authentic selves. So the one boy, Tyler, explains, and these are all pseudonyms, so just so people know that Tyler isn't really Tyler. So
right,
Tyler explains his intersecting marginalized identities as follows. He says, I think the root of homophobia is misogyny, men who act like feminine, or how race plays into it. Someone like me has double or triple oppression. So what do you think about that? So he's a gay male
I
in a
grabbed it.
religion that he doesn't feel he feels that in the minute he so this is dissonance, this is identity dissonance. So he wants to come out and tell his family that he's gay, but he
Right.
feels though the minute he does that, because he's seen what happened to cousins and things like that, that he's going to be like excommunicated from his religion and his family. What would you
Well,
tell him?
I don't necessarily agree with that, because the main thing is, I'm not sure of his paradigm as far as how he grew up. Are they very, it just sounds like he says they're very homophobic. So with that, then he has to build a trust factor in those relationships. Because the reality is, though, Jesus is love, one, okay? And he has made us all different for a reason. So now I don't necessarily understand his position, but I can empathize with his position.
Okay.
And, I have had people that have come to the church and they're in an alternative lifestyle. But the reality is, what I tell them in the close of the day, I don't have to challenge your lifestyle. I said, the Bible speaks for itself. But the one thing I can tell you as a surety is that God loves you. And I am mandated to love you through that love. So that would be the saving grace, that you're not ostracized. You're not, oh, you can't. No, 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 no. Because the reality is, though, the same God that loved and saved and forgave me is the same God that can love and save and forgive you. So I can't sit in a seat in judgment of him when the Bible says all have sinned, all have messed up. We've all made mistakes. We all thought something, as you said, in my 20s, and I realized it was totally wrong in my 30s. So it's like, that we're constantly growing in. So for them to give him grace to constantly grow and to develop and to discover God in his own way. Okay. But never, my thing to him would be, never stop. Don't seek religion. I need him to seek relationship.
Ooh, I love that. Because I think with the relationship, he'll realize, I think he just feels, he's Jehovah's Witness, so I'm not really sure. That's not a religion that I'm completely sure with. But he said, he told me that sometimes he has to get up on stage and read from the Bible, and they afterwards they give him a report card about his dictation and stuff.
Wow. Yeah, I know that they, in that religion, I know that they are, the best way I can say it is they are very strict about certain things. So, but once again, that's religion. That's not relationship. I want him to search for a relationship with God.
And so what would you tell him? What would you tell him when it is time, or when he does feel comfortable to talk to his mom or dad? How could he say that? Because I think that's a great thing. How could he separate, you're my mom and dad now, as opposed to a parishioner?
Right. And so, and the main thing about it, I think now, between you and I, his parents probably already have a clue.
I said that.
Yeah. But they're either still in denial or feel as though, oh, he'll grow out of it. They're making their own excuses, which most parents would do. They're like, okay, so it's funny because it was a young guy that my son was friends with, and he wanted to come out to his father, and his father was not having it. He said to him, I'd rather you kill someone than to be in that lifestyle. That's how bad it was, because he's from the Caribbean. So there's straight, okay, don't cross the boundaries. It's no ifs, ands, buts, and maybes. And, my son shared with me, and I was glad that he did, because I felt the young man's pain. I mean, it was just kind of wow, that, I wanted to share, I wanted to come out of hiding. I wanted to tell my father that, whether you agree with it or not, let's agree to disagree. That would be, as far as let's agree to disagree. I will never stop loving you because you're my child. Whether I agree with your lifestyle or not, I will never stop loving you. So that gives me grace to grow, and that gives you grace to grow, and we can still know.
And would you feel because I'm thinking about it, and if you were my mom and you said that to me, I might feel okay, she loves me, but she's not going to ever agree. So with that.
And the reality is, though, keep in mind, my agreement is not necessary for you to live your life.
Even as a mom?
No, I don't agree with my kids. You don't agree with your kids all the times.
Yeah, you're right.
Thank you. So you can't get hung up on what is the purpose. The one thing is, if you want to be open and honest about a particular situation or lifestyle or something that you're changing, then you should be able to be honest with them. I don't ever have to agree with you to love you. Okay. We don't agree with our husbands all the time, and we love them.
Mm-hmm.
But if I put my focus on the wrong thing, that you have to agree with me, no, I don't. No. And that's what I say to my child. I said, okay, and that we have grace for that. I have grace for your point of view, and you have grace from my point of view. Let's move on.
Yeah, you're right.
I wouldn't get stuck in that. I wouldn't get stuck in that moment. But see, that's what sometimes, and it's a shame, the whole culture is trying to make it so in my face that I have to accept it. I have to agree. I don't. All I have to do biblically is to love you.
Okay. All right. I can accept that.
Okay.
Coming to me, I'll come get you with open arms. I
Yeah.
love everything and everybody and agree with it all.
Yes.
But I think that's the difference. I think that's why we're so good together, because we do think a little bit different. So for me, in this situation, I would probably, like, the two of us, because we've done it already, put on Taylor Swift and just got down. And like, he can't do that at home because his mom would look at him like, "Why are you dancing?" Like things like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so like, so I think it's good that we see an issue from two different sides of
Hmm.
the spectrum, so that, because there are people out there that are going to agree with you, and then people out there not agree with, or that are more like you as far as your, and there's others that are more like me, and that there's room for both of us.
Right. And that's really it. That we respect our differences.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I think that's really where it comes from, because you go back to, back in the day, 20, 30 years ago, when racism was screaming, that we were divided because of our differences. But
You
then
don't
as you
still.
grow, well, I know that it's still very present, but it's just not as, in your face. So, but then you agree to disagree. Okay, fine. And I
Yes,
think that of course is the expansion of our thinking, because when I limit my thinking, I miss out on great relationships.
that's
I miss
right.
out on great events because
Open
I've already shut the door to something that eventually can not only help me, but allow me to grow and expand my mind. And this is a culture that I'm not as familiar with, but I realize there is value in that culture also.
Well, I know he was talking about even like double or triple oppression. And so he not only has to deal with this on creed, like religion, but also as a Black male.
Yeah.
So he's
Yes.
like, he's going to have it on two different, like on two different fronts. So he might feel more
Absolutely.
from other Black males or Black people, and then also from his religion,
Sure, sure.
which makes
And
me
it, and
so.
it it's a hard place for him to be, especially as a young man. It's hard.
Mhm.
And I
He's
and I understand.
19.
Say again.
19.
Yeah. It is very hard. It is. And because sometimes the church unfortunately can be so critical, and I look at the sin as opposed to the person. And I can't remove that. One, God is the only judge. And so I can't condemn him from something, because the Bible says, you by the grace of God, there go I. In other words, I could be dealing with the same thing he's dealing with. By the grace of God, I'm not. So that's why I can't sit in judgment, because he also tells me, by what measure I judge him, I will be judged by. So that means if I judge him for doing whatever he's doing, and then in my past I've done the same thing, God's like, well, wait a minute, you was about to kill and destroy him. So that same judgment now, is that going to fall on you? So I've got to be so careful on how I judge someone else that's going through something. So,
I guess so.
that's why
So
it's
going
got to
back
be
to
so.
judgment and religion. I have one more question. I know I'm like interviewing today, and I don't mean to, but I have a lot of questions today. So I have another predicament that happened this week, and I want to see how you would have handled it, or if I don't know. So I got a phone call from one of my text message from a student, and I assumed that it was one of my students because he had my cell phone number, which I still to this day have no idea how he got my cell phone number, but that's okay. He texts me, that's my rule, so whatever. Well, here, his name and one of my students' names, they have both have 5 letters, A, M, and D. The 2 letters are different. So I mistook him for this other person, right?
Okay.
Long story short, because I met your husband through our Christian club at school. That's how
Yeah.
I met, right? So
Okay.
during Christian club, we have one or two Muslim students that come in and they sit
Right.
in club and they join us, everything. Well, here we had more people from the Muslim community this year that said, "Wait, why don't we have a Muslim club? Like we have a Christian
Right.
club." So
Sure.
here they were like, you know what? And I think somebody said to them, "Start it up. Like you could
Right.
start it." Yeah.
Right.
Problem was they couldn't find a teacher to sign off on it. So somebody
Wow.
said to them, "I bet you Professor Vona would do it." And I think that's how they got my phone number. Like I guess
Okay.
that person had my number and said, "Trust me, call her," like whatever. So he asked me, and I met with him the next day. And at first I was like, "Wait a minute, you're not my student." And then we both laughed, and I told him how I thought he was my student. He laughed, but I said yes.
Mhm.
But this is my thing. So then my daughter was like, Mom, what if you have like students that are Jewish, like, and because of the war and everything going on right now? And I said, no, no, no. What I would say there is go start a Jewish club. I will be the leader of that as well. Is
Come
that
on.
right?
I agree totally, because the reality at my job, I am the president of the Christian club. And yes, there is a Jewish presence there. There is actually a Muslim presence there. So that, because hey, Israel is the valley of religion. So we get it. And there's similarities, but there's differences also.
Mhm.
So why not allow them to build a community that they can relate in? Yes,
Yes, and I
that
figured
doesn't
if
take
anything, me
anything.
being Christian or whatever might even,
No,
I
it
don't know if
doesn't
it could
take
be
any, but
better.
it doesn't take anything from you. That's the thing about it. Allowing them to express themselves in their community takes nothing from you being a Christian.
Okay,
That,
good.
and oftentimes, but this will now push you to learn more about your Bible. And see, that's the only thing that I say. That a lot of times when the Muslim, because I call them everybody cuz, because we all came from
I
Adam and Eve. So
was tip. Everybody's
I
cousin.
tell, yes, I call everybody cuz. And so I said, so when they ask me a question, I need to know what my word says before I can hear what the Quran says. So that is going to push you to learn more about your Bible and what you believe. Because if they say, well, because of course, if you're in the room, they say, well, Jamie, what do you think? You want to be like, oh, I don't have a clue. Wrong answer. So with your yes, the weight of responsibility will always fall. So that's okay, because it's just something that is going to challenge you to be more aware
So
and
I
more.
have so much time to add to my day.
Yes, yes. But I think that it's a good thing, because it's going to put you on a self journey, that you're going to be like, okay, that's why we do what we do. Oh, that's why we do. And they may ask you some question. Why do you do this? Why do you do? Because you would be the comparison. Well, we're doing this, but now would the Christians
Yes.
do this and the Jewish do that? So you would need to know why you do what you do,
And then I
because
thought
they are
maybe
looking.
at some point we bring everybody together and show that we could all be together.
And see, now that would be a great event to do that, because that way you can say that we can live past our differences, because
And
it's
that's
the same
exactly what
thing.
we were talking about. That's the name of this episode, Live Past Our Differences.
Yes, I love it. And it is, because, you know, my differences do not have to divide me. And that's what sometimes this culture, whether, it's the same thing. You got the election coming up. So with Republican,
Oh God,
Democratic,
I am not
Independent,
looking forward to that.
different since they have made it to be a division factor. Okay, you're black, you're yellow, you're brown, you're white. Differences. Why does it have to divide us? I love it one time that it was, I'll give him credit. It was Pastor Creflo O'Dollar. He says, we are the only I'm gonna say it in Spanish.
Species?
No, no, no. We are, well, okay, I'll go with species. We are the only species that argues about the color of our skin. You see horses, stallions, you see dogs, cats,
Yes, ma'am.
all they all come in different hues as we do, but we are the only ones that make it a positive or a negative based upon the hue of my coating. This is my earth suit. This ain't even really melody. Okay. So I mean, when you think about it, okay, this is just a body that goes
Yeah.
back to where it came. It goes back to the dirt. So when I decompose, and anyone else in the grave, you can't tell it the color of my skin.
No, we have to do a
So
whole thing on death one day because I am not okay with death. And
okay,
you
yes,
just
we definitely will.
you're like, good.
Yes, and we will. So why would I get hung up on something that's temporary when my soul is what's eternal? So, but it's just the culture that we came up in, what was dictated to us, what was shown to us. And of course, the same thing when you look at kids on the playground, they don't care anything about anybody's skin color. Can you
No,
throw me the ball? Throw me the ball. Can
that's
we
all
play?
learned. Social
That it's
construct.
totally is learned. But once again, it's a difference that's learned. So
Mm-hmm.
then the same thing with religion. And it's the same thing. I have, my cousins at the airport that, they were born Muslim. That's all they know. I can sit and have a conversation with them like I'm having with you. Not, oh, they know, wait a minute. No, peaceful conversation of understanding, that I
Sure.
understand now. I can empathize. I can sympathize. I can even relate
I was going to
to
say and
some of the things you're
celebrate with
talking
each
about.
other the things that you have in common because there's so much
Yes,
more that we have in common
yes,
than we.
because I'd rather grow than shut down from that. And that's what differences does. It expands my capacity to grow.
That's right. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. That was great.
I'm so glad you love that.
I did. I love that. I got a lot from this today.
Yes, living beyond our differences. And I think that is so whether it's religion, whether it's sexuality, whether it's race, we can all relate to what we just talked about. We're living
Yeah,
beyond our differences.
it is
And see, that's why we need to be careful and once again, non-judgmental, because
non-judgment.
you never know. I call it the cross that someone else is bearing. You don't. Like I could make a comment and say, you know what, all men are this, that, and the other. Okay, wait a minute. I kind of love my husband. So once again, women, we can judge because you have either allowed someone to come into your life and they were not worthy of you and they did you wrong. And so now you have a blanket over all men. And it's not necessarily the truth. And you limit yourself to expanding and growing into a better relationship. So you've now locked yourself in a box and you've said, oh, all men are dogs, all men are this. And then men, you get a one girl, okay, all women are gold diggers. So once again, judgment, you've locked yourself in a box because of your paradigm of who you had a negative relationship with, but you still have residual on your life. You're carrying that baggage because you refuse to let it go. But now you shut yourself off to someone that actually is deserving of you.
That is so true. Which is why people need to do therapy in between relationships.
I totally
Because if
agree.
not, they just stay in their same box. They could get somebody else that looks different, has a different job, different socioeconomic status, everything, and they wind up breaking up for the same reason. I'm like, it's
the same reason. Because I always say, you are the common denominator.
Yes.
You are the common denominator. So, and so, of course, I said like, okay, and see, my thing is, because I do a whole thing on that. I said that you're talking about, he's not my type. He's not my type. She's not my type. She's not my type. When was the last time your type did right by you?
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, your type broke your heart. Your type left you. Your type cheated on you. Okay, so when was the last time that this type you like did right by you? So maybe you are the common denominator. You need a different type, baby.
So wait, let me put my little spin on it with my psychology. If whoever you're with, if you're in a relationship right now and you're like dating somebody, make sure that you're not with the person that reminds you of the parent that disappointed you most. I'll say that again. Exactly. Make sure that
you marry your issues. Yes.
Yes. Make sure you're not with the person that is like the parent that disappointed you most. Women think that we try to find men like our dads. My husband and my dad are nothing alike. So that's not really true. So it's not necessarily about it, but that's the thing. It's not really about that. My dad was the coolest guy ever. But I wasn't looking for the coolest guy ever. I felt like I'm the coolest girl ever. I needed something different.
Right.
We would
it just worked, honey, when we met.
Yeah, imagine two of me. No, that ain't happening. You know what I mean? So I always tell people when they think like if they're a guy that they have to find someone like their mom or the other way, like that's not necessarily true. But I do think by watching how a person is with their parents can give you huge insight.
That's key. That's key. Because when I was dating Mike, I saw how he was with his mom. And that let me know that not only was it there, but how he would treat me. And I was dead on straight. So that is one of the things, girls, if you're listening, please, please, please watch how they treat their mom or their sister. And if they're degrading to their mom or their sister or belittling, now they're in that family. What do you think they're going to do for you? And then I always say, why do we settle for that? You see it. And it was something that my son asked me one time, and I'm trying to remember how he asked me something about, mom, something as far as relationships ending bad. And I said, there are always warning signs before it goes bad. But we choose to ignore them. We choose to deal with them. And now we're wondering, like, how did I get here? Okay, you made a choice in this relationship to ignore it, to excuse it. Oh, I can change him. I can change her. You can't change yourself, let alone change somebody else. But you chose to settle for it. And then you're surprised now why it went bad. No, there were signs. Yeah. But you didn't want to read the signs.
No, that's absolutely true. I totally agree with that. I agree with that. And I think that girls and guys both need to know their worth so that they're not settling for, because the truth is once you have kids and a house and a this and that, you can't just be like, I'm
out of here.
Yeah, I don't like you. I'm out. That doesn't look like it.
Now you've got roots, honey, and roots run deep.
So be careful, right?
Ties, it's
make sure you really like that person before you walk down the aisle or have a baby with them.
Right, and that's so many times a couple of people call and tell me, Miss Melody, can you marry me? No,
Oh,
because
you said no before?
yes, oh, plenty of times. No, because the reality is I require counseling.
Okay.
Counseling, coaching before I do. I said, now you don't have to do it with me because I don't need anything else to do. So I don't want them to think I'm blowing my own horn. I said, no. I said, but you have to have someone, send me a email, that they are degreed licensed, that they can go through a program with them. And I require at least 3 to 6 months, depending upon the severity of their relationship.
Good.
If it's
That's good.
Yeah, because I have to give you a fighting chance. And can I just say this? I will blow my own horn a little bit. Everyone that Mike and I have married are still together.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and that says a lot because we don't enter into it lightly. We counsel, we coach together because I think that it's easier playing field if you get a man's perspective and a woman's
Yes.
perspective. That it's not just, oh, I'm a woman. Oh, she's going to take my side. I'm not going to take your side, baby girl. Sorry. I'm going to stand for right. Right is right, wrong is wrong.
I
So that
think it's
when you
great that
come
you guys
together,
both have that like ability to counsel because you really are a power couple in that way because you could really take on other couples and things like that. And he's just as easy to talk to as you are. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
So I think it's
yeah,
good because you could get both perspectives.
right. And we've helped so many people. And it's so funny. One time there was a couple we were doing. They came in. They were arguing about something else, and I told them okay. And we had drove up. I think they were in Washington or Maryland. They were someplace, and we drove to do. It was like told me their last counseling session before they got married. So I was going
Okay.
to sign off on them, and they were in a heated argument. And so then, we got there. So now they're trying to put the happy face on, and I just kind of picked it up. I said, okay, what's going on? And then, of course, everything comes out. I said, you have 5 minutes to tell me why I'm going to sign off on this. I said, so you better put whatever difference aside. You better tell me why you love him. Tell me why you want to spend the rest of your life with him. And I went down the line. And of course, it broke the ice and this and that because I said, okay. So needless to say, I did sign off. We did marry them. But it was
Good.
like, great. Because if you can deal with me at my worst, then you can deal with me at
Oh
my
my God,
best.
I'm so glad you said that. So I think that's where we see if we have good relationships. We too often try to look at our relationships like in the good times. It's in the bad
Yes.
times that you have to judge your relationship.
Yeah, because if
Everybody's
I'm
on
going to
their
sit
best
here and say,
behavior in the good times.
yes, yes. And the reality is, and I know we just switched over to relationships, but it's okay. I said,
We
but
always,
my thing is, there's someone, oh, I've been dating a while, 3 months. I said, he's still on his best behavior. Stop playing with me. Everyone can be on their best behavior for 3 months. Okay.
yep.
I will tell him, time is your friend. It's when you expand it, and there's no rush. There's no rush to make a physical connection. Hello, whoever I'm talking to, there is no rush to make a physical connection.
Yep.
Time is your friend. Time is
Mm-hmm.
your friend.
No, you're
And
right.
I have some girls that you're so giving, because the reality is though, if you're giving, he now disqualifies you because you are not wifey material. Please hear me. Please hear me.
Yes, that is so right.
Right.
Somebody in my class the other day said she lost her virginity to this guy and that she was with him for like a couple years and that literally 2 weeks after she lost her virginity, he broke up with her.
Yeah. Because keep in mind, men are, and this is just a sidebar.
No, you're about competition and stuff, right?
Yes, as I said, men are conquerors. That is how they're wired. When God gave Adam instructions, he had to name the animals. He had to conquer something. There was a conquest. There was a quest that he had to fulfill to now cross over into his manhood. So whether that's why the men love sports, because there's always a climax at the end. There is always, okay, we've got the crown, we've got the trophy, we've got the victory. So they're all about the conquest. And so when you yield to that, there's no more conquest. So he's kind of like, oh yeah, it was nice. She was fun. I'm on to the next conquest.
Mm-hmm. So if that does happen to a lady out there and you're hearing this, just know that there's good news and bad news. The good news is it
Yes,
wasn't about you. The bad news is it wasn't about you.
that's it.
I mean, it
That's
should
it.
have been more about you, but it wasn't.
It was. But the beautiful thing is, God is a redeemer. That,
Mhm.
even though we might have made that decision young, inexperienced in relationship, but now you can always start over.
Yeah,
You can now hold on and say, you know what? I realize now that this is something valuable, that I just don't give it away to any Joe Schmo.
that's right.
Got to earn it.
Yes.
And if he has not earned it, then why are you giving of yourself?
And my mom always said demand respect.
Absolutely.
Yes.
the same thing. And so, and and I can say, and I don't think Mike will be mad at me, but that was
Uh,
something that we
if he is,
cherished.
I got your back.
Thank you. We
Mhm.
cherished when we were dating. We said, no, no, we are going
Oh,
to wait. We are going to wait.
wow.
And stop.
I definitely drove the car before I bought it. Sorry.
Only you.
I had to. Sorry. Sorry, Mom.
Mom's gonna be like, that's not the show I was waiting to come out on.
All right. But she knows because Gianna was at my wedding. So
Okay.
it
Okay, yeah.
happens.
There you
I'm
go.
like, at least I married your dad. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, say we recouped. But
Yeah.
but that's what I'm just
I
saying.
love that though. I love
Don't
that.
don't beat yourself up. You can
Wait, now I
always
gotta ask,
start
weren't
over.
you afraid? Like, weren't you afraid that it wasn't gonna be right?
Nah, he was sexy built. Come on. That's half the battle.
No, you're right. No, you're right. You're right. The chemistry is the battle.
Yes. Yes. And
That
so
was
and
probably
so that's what I'm
short and
just saying.
awkward
So
that night.
choose to start over. So you know what, from this going forward, because if he loves me, I'm worth waiting for.
That is true. That's
And
true.
that's when I said, you know what, I'm worth waiting for. I'm
You are.
valuable.
You are.
And when you realize that you're valuable, the right person, and if he doesn't want, he keeps pressuring you. I just had this conversation with another one of my baby girls. It's just like I need to have a baby girl club. That
Mm-hmm.
she was just like, and he keeps pressuring me, he keeps doing this. And I said, he's not the one, honey.
Mm-mm.
Telling you where his focus is.
Yes.
And if that's all he's focused about, then when he gets it, he's out the door.
That's exact. I was just gonna say that's the person when once they give in, he's out.
Yeah. And so
I
so
even
why
tell people, even if you're willing or whatever, still say that you're not gonna just to see what the other person's reaction is.
yeah, you want to try that out.
Yeah, you
Because
just want to say,
once again, there should never be pressure with something so precious.
mm-hmm.
Please hear that. There should never be pressure with something so precious.
Especially when he can walk away and you have 18 years left. You know
Come
what I
on,
mean? Get
here,
pregnant.
here. Come on.
It's the truth though.
And then you're looking like, okay, why did no, you don't have to. You don't have to regret something if you don't do it.
That's true.
So this is what I'm saying in closing, because I know we could go another 40 minutes on this one, because this is something close to my heart. That you can always not only just say no, but you can always decide not to do it. It's like, you know what? I don't want to do that. I want to wait. Choose you. That was it.
Yeah,
That was
and
that.
sometimes saying no is saying yes to yourself. So saying no to other people allows you to say yes to yourself. And
Absolutely.
you're worth saying yes to.
You are you. Yes,
You, you, you.
you, cutie pie. You are worth saying yes to.
Amen. That was
Yes,
good.
that was
Thank
good.
you, everybody, for joining us today. And
Yeah.
hopefully, you will join us next time. Just so everybody knows, we are both getting our doctorate degrees. So, and Miss Melody is going to go on a mission soon, and I'm going to do a conference soon.
Yes,
So, it's going to be cool. And we're going to try to, meet up here and there and do things, but just keep looking out for
absolutely.
us.
Yes,
And I'll make
definitely.
sure that when I put it out, I make sure I put it out to where people get notifications. So that's
Awesome,
good.
because I
So people,
definitely want, even as Dr. Vona was talking about, I would love to be able to get away with you guys. Just if we do like a girls' weekend one time,
okay,
and
my
do
arm's
something.
twisted.
I said that we can just do that. Something quick. Even if you don't have your passport, we can do like maybe a San Juan thing. Go do some beach, some fun, some classes in person, and get to know you. And we say, press the flesh. Get to hug you,
Love it.
embrace you, let you know that you can rise.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of She Rises. We hope to see you next time.